Narayan Maskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayadhyarya Nashtaparayasho Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashoki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Nigamalkalparurgaritam Param Shukamakaramita Dravi Samyatam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamariam Mahorahora Shikabubi Babakaham Krishna Sadam Bhagade Dharmigini Karonashta Rishamasha Paranako Dunoditam Dhammapiada Vishuddha Vishuddham Vibhusam Apiyana Virambaruksaram Parakahidu Maranam Sanklesha Nirvanam Usanti Nanyataham Om Maganatimranda Shaganagana Saraka Chaksurun Meditam Yena Tashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupakaramyam Tarati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagaratam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Larita Shri Vishakan Vitam Stam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dhanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sanyavari Praskita Desar Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Wisdom Wednesday. Good morning, Rob. A word for us? Can you give us a word of wisdom on Wisdom Wednesday before we launch?
I'm not sure if it's wisdom or not, Prabhuji, but it is a wonderful morning, a beautiful morning to serve Krishna and remember him always and never forget him.
And the heat wave doesn't seem to have oppressed us the last few days, has it? It's been not too bad last 4 or 5 days. Are you working outside every day now?
I am. It's been a very nice reprieve.
Yeah. I know. Haven't looked at the forecast, but I wouldn't mind if we just had more of the same. Our zucchini plants are chest high, Rob. Can you believe that?
Wow.
They're
I've got some
chest
pretty
high.
massive ones myself, but not quite that big. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're monsters. They're monsters. And the tomatoes haven't, of course, we're far from harvesting the tomatoes, but the plants are also very tall, very sturdy. Looks extremely promising here. I cooked another batch day before yesterday of, like 7 or 8 buckets of zucchini with peppers and all. And we've got so many melons and gourds, we don't even know what to do with them. Anyway, it's going to be a bountiful harvest in 2021.
Yes, it is.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Mahatma, the Prashadam Acharya. Mahatma maintains um, a group as well as a Facebook site called Prashadarians. I recommend it very highly. There are all kinds of yummy, mouth-watering recipes there, many of them created by Mahatma herself. So she's been the founder and the maintainer of that site, that group, for many, many years. And so if you're interested in cooking consecrated food to offer to the Lord, then I can't recommend it. This is the highest bar, the highest standard is established by Mahatma in her group of Prashadarians. Good morning, Brent. I know Brent's someone who's interested in learning devotional skills. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about cooking or recipes, but I suspect you have that artistry within you. So here's a good resource. Mahatma says, we do not have an orchard, but we have fruit trees here. Right now we're harvesting wild dates. Thank you for your kind words. Great. We're getting apricots from a number of different sources. We pick tons of plums from our neighbor's tree. And also in Salt Lake City, there's a little sort of raised concrete bed. It's probably 4 by 4, and it's maybe 4 feet high. There's a plum tree right in there. It's right in a courtyard, right behind the back window there, and it is packed with plums. When I was up last Saturday to give the talk, I just took 10 minutes and picked all the plums that I could reach and filled an entire 5-gallon bucket in 10 minutes. But there were many that I couldn't reach. So I suggested to the devotees there they get a ladder, have plum chutney, have plum crisp, have plum halva. Good morning, Shukshma from New Mexico. We had a lot of visitors over the weekend in town from New Mexico. the land of enchantment. We're revisiting this verse again. The 20th verse, 5th chapter, 1st canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Inam hi vaishram bhagavan ivetaro. Yato jagadstana niro deshambhabaha tadihi shayam veda bhavam statapite pradasha matam bhavata pradashita. English translation: the Supreme Lord, personality of God, it is himself, this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all this. I have given only a synopsis. Krishna says, Bhakti tu ananya sakyaham evam gatvadrashtam cha praveshtam cha parantabam. Bhakti tu, only those who are undeviatingly engaged in my devotional service. Now, many of us are engaged in devotional service. However, our aspirations are to come to the level of devotional service where we never deviate. I think one of the snares that we all face is that after working hard on behalf of the Lord for 6 or 8 or 10 hours, we get tired, we get vulnerable, and then we think, well, I need to kick back, I need to rest, I need to do something which shows my entitlement. I've served the Lord for so many straight hours, and we tend to feel special. We tend to feel holier than thou. And at that moment, when we're self-congratulatory, when we're chuffed with ourselves, we are no longer in Krishna consciousness. So we have to learn that after we do a long stint of uninterrupted service, we have to train ourselves, rather than to think of self-congratulations or rewarding ourselves or entitlement. We need to think that how can I need to reward myself for that devotional service with more devotional service. Maybe not quite as active, maybe not a type of devotional service that puts out so much energy, because after all, you're tired, you've been working physically, and you do need a rest. But how to dovetail that rest, that downtime, so that it's not really downtime, it's also uptime. And that way you remain, you come into ananya, bhakti tu ananya shakya evam drashtam. Krishna says, only those who are engaged in undivided, uninterrupted devotional service can understand me. So we have to be very careful of the insidious feeling of specialness after having done devotional service. It is true. Out of millions and millions of men, only one may be a devotee, and of those who are devotee, only one may be engaged in devotional service. And of those who are engaged in devotional service, someone who's undeviatingly engaged in devotional service is very rare. But if you're engaged in devotional service, any degree of devotional service, 2 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, you're one in a million. You are special, but you shouldn't think of yourself as special. Prahlad says, Aham tu akamas tram bhakta tram shashaminam nanyete hartior arto rajaseva karyo. Prahlad is fixed in this conscience that I am always the servant of the Lord, and he is always my master. You know, after 6 or 8 hours of devotional service, maybe we cook up a big batch of zucchini, or we've just had a successful festival for which we've worked months and months marketing, and we've arranged for the accommodation and tickets of all the artists. Maybe we've even been up there and performed ourselves. We've gone the whole 9 yards for this festival. Then the festival's over, everyone had a great time, there was good income generated, the truck is packed, the debris is cleaned up. Then that's when you got to watch out, because then you start to think other than that I'm a servant of the Lord. Once the festival's done, it's successful, everything's packed up, the money's in the bank, you need to keep thinking of some humble service that you can do. Maybe it's not big service, festival service involving hundreds of thousands of people, but you have to sweep the floor, pick up the trash, you have to learn a verse, whatever it is, cook a little offering, do an arti, sit down and give a class to just 2 or 3 people. Sure, it's great to be on stage preaching to 5,000 people, but when that opportunity passes, then in the medium time, you have to be willing to go to RT where there's only 1 or 2 people, sit down with those 1 or 2 people, answer their questions, and explain Krishna consciousness to them. Service, 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 and then you have Krishna, 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 Krishna. We all know the story of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam when the gopis, they had just done the rasa dance with Krishna. They were hanging out with Krishna the midnight hour, and they were thinking, wow, they're unlimited created beings, or unlimited jivas throughout the creation of the Lord. And we have just danced with Krishna at midnight. We are so special. We are so lucky. That moment, Krishna intuited that pride had entered into their consciousness, the self-congratulatory mood. It had become not as much about Krishna as about them, and Krishna disappeared. Krishna taught him a lesson by disappearing. So you may have worked hard for months to put on a festival. It may have been a great festival full of chanting and prasadam and instructions from the Bhagavad Gita from the stage, and people had a great time and then went away. But then after it's over, don't start making it about you. You organized the festival, you arranged the artists, you got the grounds, you did the permit, you were on stage. No, it's always and forever about Krishna, and that's how you'll always have Krishna in your life. You don't want to swap out Krishna for a sense of meanness, and that's why Krishna says, Bhakti tu ananya sakya ahami vambida gyatva jastam chaptam praveshtam chaparantam. Those who are engaged and fully surrendered to me, those are the ones for whom I show up and show out in their life. And that engagement needs to be undeviating, unselfish. I told a story a few weeks ago at the Sunday feast here of a student who, for his PhD, had to go and live with a Navajo family for a year. And as he lived with the Navajo family week after week, month after month, he found himself attracted to the old, wise grandfather. They spent a lot of time together, the young PhD student and the old Navajo. And the Navajo didn't speak English, and the English student didn't speak Navajo. But some or other, they just hung around each other. Gradually, he learned a few words of Navajo. He was able to put a few simple sentences together. But mostly their association and the inspiration that young student got from the old Navajo chief was subtle. It wasn't verbal. It was through body language and just through subtle vibrations and all. So the year ended. It's time for the student to go back and write his thesis. And he knew enough Navajo at that time to say his farewells to the old Navajo chief, more or less in these words. He said, I like myself best when I'm with you. I like myself best when I'm with you. So that's our theme today, how to be the best version of yourself, how to be the best you. And when we're full of ego, full of self-congratulation, when we think that we're hot stuff, that we're something special, that is not the best us. The consciousness of dominating, having sovereignty, influence, being charming, good looking, educated, well connected. Kunti, perfectly situated devotee of the Lord, the mother, no less, of the 5 Pandava brothers, said that you're not your best self when you have aspirations for wealth, for beauty, for aristocracy, for good looks. Those kinds of insidious desires pollute the soul, and they dampen your spiritual acumen, your spiritual acuity. One should aspire not to be a sovereign, not to be a monarch, not to be an enjoyer, not to be a doer, not to be an influencer, not to have one's own name on everyone's lips, not to have one's name printed in the newspaper. One should simply Juvasharupai Nitya Krishna Das. It's as simple as that. I am the servant and Krishna is the master. And we want that always to be the case, and we want that always to be our mood. And when we're in the mood of serving the Supreme Personality of God, we are the best versions of ourselves. No stress, no anxiety, no competitive spirit, no envy, no attachment. We simply work as instruments. in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, we can never be the best version of ourselves. We can never become the men and women that God created us to be. When we have interests which deviate, which separate us from the interests of the Supreme Father, the personality of Godhead, Aham Bija Pradapita, who created all living beings, to the degree that we become detached from the Lord, we become lesser versions of ourselves. Example is given that sparks in the fire are full of light and heat. They act as the fire. They're identical with the fire. They may not be equal to the fire, but they're identical. But when the spark, you've seen sparks being spit out from a fire on a winter's evening. So as those embers, which were originally red hot, full of light and heat, distance themselves from the fire, they start to lose their fiery qualities and become cool. Similarly, as we distance ourselves from the interests of the Supreme Personality of God, we become lesser versions of ourselves. We may appear to be the old Caru or the old Bai or the old, just the same, looks the same, talks the same, but we're not. We're shells of what we could be. Just like a leaf detached from a tree, for a while it may look green, it may look robust, it may look smooth, but it no longer has nourishment coming in. It no longer is attached to the source of its vitality, the source of its health. So it may look like a leaf, it may look like a bud, it may look like a flower or a branch, but it is no longer receiving sustenance. And so it is on the downward trajectory. The Lord is all powerful, and he emanates multifarious potencies. Wherever we see an influential man, we see him with a retinue. We see him with security people, with secretaries, with press people. We can tell that if there's a big entourage moving through the airport, then in the center of that entourage is someone of importance. Everybody is looking, who's that? Who's that? They look on their tiptoes to see who's in the middle amongst the security people, the press people, the assistants, and the secretaries. Who is that? Which personality is it? Which politician is it? Which luminary is it? So God, the most powerful, doesn't move alone. Doesn't move. He doesn't exist in isolation. Powerful globe like the sun, which emits millions and millions of BTUs of energy every moment, is complemented by its energies of the sunshine. So we can't just think of the sun in isolation, but whenever we think of the sun, we automatically think of the sunshine. And so similarly, it's in our best interest to associate ourselves with the Lord's entourage, the principal personality of which is Srimati Radharani. It said, Akshno phalam twadisha darshanam hi. The perfection of the eyes is to see the devotees of the Lord. Tanu phalam twadisha gatra shanga. The perfection of association, the perfection of friendship is to be in the entourage of those who are serving the Lord as assistants, as gopis or gopas. Parental, Vatsalya, Dasha, Santa, Madhurya. Tanu phalam tadisha, Jiva phalam tadisha, Kirtanam hi. The perfection of the tongue is to sing and to listen, to hear and to repeat the beautiful melodious kirtans, or to do japa. Sudirla Sham Bhagavati Loka, because devotees of the Lord, genuine, uninterrupted, unselfish devotees of the Lord are very rare and very valuable. So when you get that opportunity, you need not to let it pass, but you need to seize it. Tu yamalabanipi nashagamat Bhagavad Sangi Shang Martanam Kimatashi Saha. First canto, it says that even a moment's association with devotees cannot be compared with all worldly opulences which are available from the lower to the higher planets. What to speak of liberation, even itself. So as parts and parcels of the Lord, we are identical with the Lord. Particles of gold are identical with the gold mine. They may not be equal in value, but they are identical in quality. So when we put ourselves in the fire of Krishna consciousness, then we become the best versions of ourselves. Mam Tyavapachana Bhakti Yoga Saganam Samadhitaita Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. It says that who is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord is no longer part of this material atmosphere. Is no longer subject to the stress, to the depression, to the self-doubt, to the ignorance, to the misdirection, to the confusion. And the difference between someone who's so well situated and so happy and such a light for oneself and with others, and those who missed it, is that the former are addicted to hearing about the name, fame, glories, and pastimes of the Lord from a pure devotee of the Lord. This is what brings out our inner beauty, our inner strength, our inner vitality, our inner joy, and our inner peace. Just like a match comes to wood, and when the match is applied externally to the wood, it brings out the fire which is already inside the wood. Without the external approach of the match, the fire inside the wood would never manifest. It would never come out. It takes the external application to bring the internal out. So similarly, it takes association in the form of oral reception. The spiritual master may not be physically present, but if we're put ourselves in a situation where we can hear and discuss amongst like-minded people the words of the spiritual master coming down into cyclic succession, that brings out the best parts of ourself. It says, Natasya karanam chabiditena tatsamasya bhadakas parasya shaktir vibhadaiva shabhavika balakriya. Unless we tend to think of ourselves better than we are, more than we are. This verse says, Natasya karanam tatsamasya bhadakas. God is defined as that person than whom no one can become greater or equal. Sometimes due to an incomplete fund of knowledge, we think, well, God is spirit and I'm spirit, so therefore I'm God. This is what we call monism or Mayavadi philosophy. That because I'm identical with God, in as much as he's spirit and I'm spirit, therefore I have become God. This verse says the definition of God is he than whom no one can be greater or equal. So someone's taken back, someone's crestfallen, but God is spirit, I'm spirit. So that would seem to say that I'm equal. How is it you can say we're not equal? No, you're identical. God is spirit and you're spirit. Therefore, you're identical with God. But you're not equal with God. Biden is an American, I'm an American. So in the sense that we're both citizens of the same country, we're identical. But I'm not equal to Biden. I don't wield the power of Biden. I don't live in the White House. I don't have a chauffeur-driven car with a license plate that says US-1. I don't have my own plane. So the fact that you're spirit and God's spirit, it makes you identical, but it does not make you equal. And to the degree that you think you're God, you're going to miss all the advantages of serving the Lord. Obviously, if you want to set yourself up as competition to God, he's not going to give you his beauty. He's not going to give you his knowledge. He's not going to give you his power. He's not going to support you. You're on your own. You want to be God? Okay, you're going to be God off to the side in isolation. Your whole idea of imagination, your phantasmagoria of being God is simply a pipe dream. And to the degree that you want to be independent, you want to be sovereign, separate from the actual independent sovereign Lord, to that degree, your light wanes. You become dull, confused, lost. Just like Arjuna. Arjuna wanted to depend upon his own resources. He wanted to do it his way. Krishna was right there on the same chariot with him. But it did not initially occur to Arjuna to avail himself of Krishna's love, Krishna's power, Krishna's grace, Krishna's knowledge. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, it was all about Arjuna. Krishna, drive my chariot between these two armies so that I may see with whom I must contend in this great battle. Oh Krishna, these are my relatives, my friends, my teachers, I cannot raise a hand in battle against them. I should be throwing flowers at them, offering incense, not shooting arrows at them. So here it's all about Arjuna. Krishna, I think this, I've concluded this, therefore, Nadyotoichiko, I'm making a declaration. Imagine the effrontery, the presumption that Arjuna says to Krishna, I will not fight. He makes this declaration to Krishna, I will not fight. At this point, he's totally not himself. What to speak of his best self? He's not in any position. He doesn't have any terra firma from which he can rise higher to the next level. He's covered with doubt, with confusion. This big, powerful champion drops his bow, slumps his shoulders, can no longer look Krishna in the eyes. He looks down, begins to cry, tremble out of paralysis. Fortunately, because Arjuna's only playing a role and he wants to take us in the right direction, when you think it's all said and done, when you think Arjuna is finished, he's down for the count, then, to our great delight, Karupanya dosho pataha shabaham, almost from the ashes, it's like the fighter is down on the mat and the referee says, 1, 2, or which way do they do it? They go up or they go down? I don't know, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. But before he gets to 10 or before he gets to the end of the count, the boxer gets up on one knee, pulls himself together and stands up. Arjuna, you think he's down and out. You think he's no longer valuable. He's no longer a factor. But just when you discount him, he pulls himself together, gets back up, and he says, Karupanya dosho patahashaba. He does the right thing. Prichtami tamdama yaksreya sishyasteham saridama. Krishna, I'm going to put it to you now. I'm not going to be independent. I'm not going to spout my own concocted theories. I'm just you. Vedaham samadhitani vartamana vivishani mam taveda. You know everything, past, present, and future. You're the supreme personality of God. From you, everything comes. I'm going to put it to you. What should I do? What should I do? So Arjuna is identical with Krishna, but he's not equal to Krishna. Where Arjuna falters, where Arjuna stumbles, where Arjuna becomes eclipsed with darkness, confusion, ignorance, Krishna is smiling. He says he's during all of this drama of Arjuna, all this posturing, philosophizing and theorizing, Krishna's just smiling. And when Arjuna finally says, I'm your disciple, surrendered to you, tell me what to do, Krishna says, are you done now? Are you done? And then the Sochams Gadasam immediately identifies the source of Arjuna's undoing, and that is that you're identifying with the body. These are your relatives, your friends, your teachers. All of these appellations derive from the bodily connection that Arjuna has. And Krishna says, Gadasam Zagatam Nenam Sochadam Pandita. Those who are pandits, those are actually learned people, they don't waste all this time and energy on the body. Body's not the self. Avinasi Tanan Vidyanasham Shakamana Siddhim Vedanti Mana. The path of perfection is not by speaking and thinking and talking and acting in terms of the body. The path of perfection, Avinasi Tanan Vidyanasham Shakamana Siddhim Vedanti Manava. You have to consider the real self, the soul, which is eternal, full of bliss. And Hanyate Hanyamane Siddhye. For the soul, there's neither birth nor death, nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. So in this way, Krishna brings Arjuna to a higher level of consciousness. And this is the difference between ourselves and God. We become covered by illusion. We become suffocated and repressed by these material bodies made of earth, air, fire, and water. But Krishna comes in his self-same spiritual body. For us, we're a soul inside a material tabernacle, inside of blood, inside of stool, inside of urine, inside of chemicals, inside of phosphorus, inside of carbon, inside of mucus, bile, and phlegm. We're a soul inside of all those obnoxious things. But if you think Krishna is also inside, if you think that Krishna is something impersonal, some undifferentiated, homogeneous spirit, but in order to communicate, in order to send a message to human society, he also, just like we do, has to take a material body, then you are an offender. You'll never become the best version of yourself if you minimize Krishna's personality like that. Krishna, in fact, is the same. Whereas we're different inside and outside, Krishna is non-different. This is the oneness of which we speak. There's not a duality between Krishna and Krishna's body like there is with us. Krishna and his body is the same. He's spirit throughout. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadanruptam, Ajamparana, Parishanovyam, Vedasudurabam, Adaramatmam Bhakto, Govindam Maripurusham, Tamaham, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadam, Anantarupam. God is one integrated whole. He's never covered or eclipsed by matter. He's like the sun, which can never be covered by the cloud. And so when he appears in his original self, same spiritual body, from which there's no difference between the inside and the outside. Lord Brahma, no less than the creator of the universe, says, Agni Yasya Sakalendra Vitamanti Pashanti Panti Kalyam Chana Ananda Chinmaya Shadujala Vigrahasya Govinda Maripurusham Tamahang Bhajami. There is no difference between Krishna's senses, between his body, between his mind and himself, as there is with us. Any one of his senses can perform the full-fledged functions of any other senses. It's not true in our case. I can only see with my eyes. I can only smell with my nose, speak with my mouth, hear with my ears, and touch with my skin. But Krishna can speak with his skin. He can eat with his ears. When you offer, Padram Pusham Palam Tiam Yomi Bhakti Parachi Tadishnamajan Yad Karos Yadishnas Yashan. You offer food to Krishna with your prayers. He eats the food by hearing your prayers. He enjoys the food through hearing. Krishna can smell with his eyes. He can speak with his nose. There is no differentiation between any one of Krishna's senses and any other of Krishna's senses, and that is because there is no difference between Krishna's inside and outside. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Bahanam Jamanamate Gyanavam Vasudeva Sarvasamahatmare. Both you and I, Arjuna, have taken many, many births. I can remember all of them, Tani Aham Veda Sarva Nittam Veda Parantapa, but you can remember none of them. Why is that? Because Arjuna is changing his body. He's a spirit inside of a changing, mutable body made of matter. Whereas Krishna never changes his body. So the forgetfulness of the living entity is due to the change of body. If we can't remember what we did a week ago, it's because we were in a different body than we are at present point in time. But Krishna is in the same body eternally. He's not subject to the changes of body, and therefore he's never subject to forgetfulness. So although we're identical with God, we have the same qualitative existence as God. Quantitatively, we don't have the memory, we don't have the intelligence, we don't have the insight, we don't have the power, we don't have the influence, we don't have the beauty. So the best position, if you want to become the best version of you, our advice this morning is surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Natasha Karanam Karanam Chavin Tatsam Parashi Shakti Vivada Shrabhavika Balagana Kriya. The last verse in this last line from this verse from the Shvedasvatara Upanishad, Shrabhavika Balagana Kriya. The Lord is all powerful. He is such that no one is greater than equal to him. But this is key. His energy is Shrabhavika Balagana Kriya. His energies are full of knowledge, power, and ability. So we are not the energetic. We are not God, nor can we ever become God by penances, by austerities, by yoga, by good birth, by aristocracy, by learning. We can never, ever, ever become God. But as the energies of the Lord, we are full of knowledge, power, and ability. By nature, So we simply have to stay connected. It's like the spark that needs to stay near the fire. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Lord has an undifferentiated body. Jo Pishana Vyatma, Bhutanam, Ishvara, Prakriti Samabhame Dishanam. Says, although I am unborn and my body never deteriorates, still I take birth amongst human beings in order to guide them, in order to illuminate their path with wisdom and knowledge and protection. If the Lord assumes a material body like you or I, if the Lord is subject to karma and he's subject to the limitations of having a material body, why then is it said in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma me divyam evam yobeti chakva deham purna janma neti sarjana. Just by understanding Janma karma me divyam, how my birth and activities are not ordinary, how in fact they're extraordinary, they're transcendental, one who upon leaving this present body never again has to take another material body. It is the height or the depth of foolishness to think that Krishna is different from his soul, different from his mind, different from his heart, different from his body. If you think in that way, if you're duped or misled in that way by the impersonalist or monist or Mayavadic school of philosophy, then you're going to miss all the beauty, all the love, all the reciprocation, all that God is poised to give you. He's your Father, and the Father loves nothing more than to shower knowledge, to shower abundance, to shower wealth, peace, and joy upon his offspring, his parts and parcel. We are the best versions of ourselves when we're serving, when we voluntarily place ourselves under the guidance and under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. And the first step to that is knowing that he is Advaitam Achyutam. He is non-different from his body, his mind, his soul, and as such he is infallible in all circumstances. So the best principle is to simply follow the direction of Krishna. We are the energy and not the energetic. And no matter how much the energy reads books on self-improvement and motivational books and follows Stephen Covey and Dale Carnegie, no matter how the living being improves himself, adds to his portfolio, there will never be a time when he'll be more than an infinitesimal part and parcel of the Lord. There is only so far he can go on his own. And mostly speaking, when you're on your own, the direction that you go is not upward, but it is downward, because all the addition of wealth and beauty and fame simply makes one more puffed up. There are any number of examples of gifted, talented, intelligent, austere personalities devoid of God consciousness who just became a demoniac case of meningitis in the head of the universe. Ravana was talented in many ways. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. The list goes on and on and on. Namam duskinidamana prapadyante nana. If one is not prapadyante, surrendered unto the Lord, then even wealth, even intelligence, even austerity, even self-discipline, they turn bad, they turn sour, they take you not north, but they take you south. We need to recognize, first and foremost, get into sync with the opinion of the great saints and sages. Aham param brahma param nama bhavidam purusham satam ahustam risha sarve devashanana asito divya shayam chava bravisi me. That we are the energy, we are not the energetic. We'll never be greater or equal to God, but as the energy, we're full of knowledge, power, and ability, provided that we stay connected with the energetic source. So we have limits. We are tiny and insignificant in terms of time and space, but we have as our supporter, our protector, our sword, our tower, our shield, the unlimited, almighty, supreme personality of Godhead. And working as an instrument in his service, there is nothing that we can't accomplish with his breath behind our sails. It is said that the energies are always under the control of the engineer. No matter how powerful the electrical energy is, it will never take control of its own destiny. The control of the electrical energy will always be under the control of the engineer. So we are dependent, we are subordinate, we are parts. We can never really take control of our own destiny, but we can surrender control to the engineer and allow the engineer to use us in the best way that he knows to use us. Prabhupada says here, the human beings and all other living beings are products of Krishna's spiritual potencies. And as such, we are identical with the Lord. However, identity with the Lord does not mean equality with the Lord. So we are individual persons, Krishna's individual persons, but no energy can surpass or supersede the energetic source. It is only men with a poor fund of knowledge who claim to be equal to the Lord. We are never equal to the Lord, and we will never, ever become equal to the Lord. Now, we hear through texts like the Nectar Devotion and others that those who are surrendered to the Lord, they can achieve a significant number of the qualities of the Lord, up to Lord Brahma, for instance, who's doing the will of the Lord, who's a surrendered soul at the feet of the Lord, has achieved 78% of the qualities of the Lord. Not 78% quantitatively, but 78% of the qualities of the Lord. So it is possible to exhibit the light, the beauty, the tranquility, the joy. In fact, we are supposed to do that as teachers, as leaders, as parents. We are supposed to exhibit, reflect the light which originates in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's like stars in the sky are not sources of light. They are meant to reflect the light of the sun and the moon. So we are all created originally from God. We are spirit, as is God. And so we are not meant to obscure or to cover or to suppress the original light which comes from our source, the Supreme Personality of God. In society, as we move here and there, as we maintain ourselves and raise our families and interact with others, we need to be representatives of the Supreme Personality of God. We need to be ambassadors of the world of light. Prabhupada says, the misguided living beings must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to him. For this purpose they have been created, and stepping right into the middle of that purpose, you, I, and all living beings, especially those with the human form of life, have the valuable, unprecedented opportunity to become the best versions of ourselves, to become the men and women of faith that we are created to be, to do the best for ourselves and to do the best for our families, our co-workers, our countrymen, and our generation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for your patience. Any wrap-up words, Rob? Are you still there? Are you still loud and clear?
We'll see about loud and clear. I am on the road now.
Okay. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. Maybe if you talk slow, we can hear you.
My takeaway from today is if you want to be the best version of yourself, then be humble and engaged in the service to Krishna.
Yes. And what about those who are engaged in service of Krishna? What should we watch out for? I mean, we're engaged to a certain percentage, but what should we watch out for? What's our biggest concern in terms of increasing the selflessness and the duration of our devotional service?
To not become wrapped up in ego, to not take credit for the service that you're doing, and to remember that it all comes from Krishna. It's
Exactly. Exactly, exactly. And I imagine also in recovery groups, this is also an issue. Someone says, well, I've been clean and sober for a year. I think I'll celebrate with a drink.
That has happened. You know, who knows how many times, but that's also why they say I'm clean and sober today by the grace of God.
By the grace of God. And if I want to be clean and sober tomorrow, I better realize that where I am is only due to the grace of God. It's not of my own doing.
Absolutely. Humility is key.
Well, thank you, Rob. Always.
Thank you.
Chandrakeshar has just made a decision. He's a Prabhupada disciple. He's been around a long time. He's made a decision. He says, I'm going to surrender. 2 exclamation points. Good choice. Patrick, Hare Krishna, my favorite couple from Reno, Patrick and Mary. Sorry we haven't been able to see you these last 2 years because of COVID. Yeah, we really miss hanging out with you guys in the park there at Rancho San Rafael, the time Festival of Colors. Those were good times, good times. Bear, you're getting quite regular and consistent now. I think you've been with us all 3 times, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we're always flattered that Christine joins us all the way over from Europe. I'm not sure even what time it is in France. She says she has been granted in her life the great honor to sew for Sri Sri Radha Govinda Madhava in New Mayapur, France, to do service for the deities there. And that's a good example. When you sew for the deities and then that dress which you've made is on the deities, you are overjoyed, not because you have good looking threads, not because you're looking good, feeling good, and people's attention is on you, but you're happy, your delight, your bliss is enhanced by the clothes which you made on the form of the deity. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We don't want to attract credit or acclamation to ourselves. We get more pleasure by seeing the deity appreciated, by seeing the deity beautified and the deity glorified than we do ourselves. So we have to embed that spirit. We have to get that mood down in our spirit. And at no point, even after we've pulled a coup, even after we've done something really great for the Lord, like for instance, if people start saying that deity dress is the best dress I've ever seen, whoever sewed that dress is the best seamstress in the world. No, we cannot start getting inflated. We still have to think that my pleasure comes from seeing. I may have made a better dress than others, but not so that I can be glorified more than others. Not because I'm not in competition with any other devotee. I'm happy for their service. They're happy for my service. So the example of given that as we decorate ourselves, the reflection is decorated. Our whole focus is to honor Krishna, the source of our pleasure, to hear Krishna's name and fame spread far and wide. But when we hear someone glorifying us as the best of this or the best of that, or even worse, we hear that voice, Maya, influencing us and causing that little voice within ourselves to tell us how much of a better devotee we are than such and such and so and so. We have to learn to dislike that. We have to learn to run away from that pattern of thought. So that's our process of devotional service, and we appreciate Christine Mariner for joining us. And then what to speak of joining us from far corners of the world, we have Malini Priti, wonderful, exemplary devotee over there in Malaysia, whose 2 primary services are prasadam and book distribution. Book distribution keeps you fixed. If you're distributing books as a fundamental practice, it's very hard to get into an egoistical frame of mind. Oh, she gives us a hint. If you want to get the maximum number of plums, you have to shake them. That might be better than spending hours up on the ladder. I'll have to try that. Yep. Mahatma, we talked a lot about Mahatma in the beginning. So nice to hear devotees are being self-sufficient. Thanks for the encouragement and inspiration. And she gives us a link there to the Prashadarium. I encourage everyone to take that link. Good morning, Govinda Dev. This is a day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Govinda Dev is one of the most genuinely joyful and God-centered people that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. All right. Thank you very much for all of your comments and your emojis. We certainly appreciate it. My Bobby has hit like, Christina's hit like, Patrick's hit like, Nate, Hare Krishna, Nate has hit like, Navlini Preeti, Sean Castro, Marsha Pilgrim, thanks Marsha. Thanks for all those that hit like. Natasha, thank you so much. Jean, thank you for hitting those little emojis. We really appreciate it. It pushes up higher on the Facebook algorithm. So that's it. We've had a wonderful Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We've certainly relished being with you these 3 days. We'll be back on the weekend with some more motivational talks as part of the Chant for Change series. In the meantime, it's not about you. It's about Krishna. When it's about Krishna, you become the best version of yourself. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare